The slide on the giant screen was mine. The data, the graphics, the carefully chosen words, all mine. But the woman standing at the podium, bathed in the spotlight, was my boss, Jessica. She spoke my words as if they were her own, her voice confident and smooth. She was taking credit for my entire project, for a year of my life, in front of the entire company. As my heart sank into my stomach, the CEO, the legendary Mr. Harrison, spoke up from the front row. "Excellent work, Jessica," he said, a small, unreadable smile on his face. "I saw it last week." This is the story of a boss who stole one project too many, and a CEO who saw everything. If you have ever had your hard work claimed by someone else, subscribe now and hit the notification bell, because you are about to see justice served in the boardroom. For the past year, Project Nightingale had been my life. I was a junior strategist at Project Dynamics, a rising star in the competitive world of marketing, and Nightingale was my baby. It was a revolutionary market penetration strategy, born from a single, sleepless night of inspiration and nurtured over thousands of hours of research, data analysis, and meticulous planning. It was the most ambitious and innovative work of my young career, and I knew, with every fiber of my being, that it was brilliant. My boss, Jessica Vance, was 30 years old and the head of strategy. She was everything I wasn't: polished, politically savvy, and possessing a kind of ruthless charm that both dazzled senior leadership and terrified her subordinates. From the beginning, she had presented herself as my mentor. "Maya, this is fantastic," she'd said when I first pitched the Nightingale concept. "This could be huge for you. For us. Let's work on this together. I'll guide you." Her guidance quickly morphed into a relentless demand for updates. Daily check-ins became twice daily. Requests for my raw data files and draft presentations became a constant stream. I was so eager to impress, so grateful for the opportunity, that I didn't see the pattern. I worked nights, weekends, sacrificing my personal life to perfect every detail, and at every step, I would send my progress to Jessica. "Great start," she would email back. "Now, let me add my polish." As the date of the big presentation to the CEO and the executive board approached, Jessica took complete control. "You're still a bit green for this level of presentation, Maya," she'd said, her tone a perfect blend of concern and condescension. "The delivery is everything. I'll present our work. It's a team project, and as the team lead, it's my responsibility. When we succeed, you will get your credit. I'll make sure of it." I had a knot of dread in my stomach, a small warning voice telling me this was wrong. But I was 24 years old. What could I do? To challenge her would be career suicide. So I handed over the final presentation, a masterpiece of data visualization and strategic insight, and hoped for the best. I watched her walk into that boardroom, my work in her hands, my future in her control. Will this betrayal lead to a shocking karmic reckoning? This story of stolen credit is just getting started, so keep watching. Project Dynamics, located in the heart of San Francisco, was the epitome of the modern American tech marketing firm. A sleek, open-plan office, a relentless pace, and a culture that paid lip service to collaboration while rewarding ruthless, individual ambition. It was a Shark Tank with better snacks. Jessica Vance was the apex predator of that tank. She had risen fast, not on the quality of her own ideas, but on her uncanny ability to identify and appropriate the brilliant work of junior employees. She was a master of corporate politics, always knowing who to flatter, who to undermine, and how to frame a stolen concept as her own strategic oversight. She was a hollow vessel, beautifully decorated, who survived by draining the substance from others. To the senior executives, she was a dynamic, effective leader. To those who worked under her, she was a smiling tyrant. My only real ally in this world was Liam, a senior graphic designer who had been at the company for a decade. He was cynical, sharp-witted, and had seen a dozen Jessicas come and go. He saw my talent from day one and had tried to warn me. "Just be careful, kid," he'd said over coffee a few months ago. "With Jessica, there's no we, there's only me." Document everything. Keep your own copies. And then there was Mr. Harrison, the CEO. He was a company legend, one of the original founders. He was in his late 60s, a quiet, almost reclusive figure who rarely appeared outside of major board meetings. People said he was brilliant, that he could read a balance sheet like a novel, and that he missed nothing. He was an old-school leader who valued substance over style, a fact Jessica seemed to have forgotten. He was the ultimate audience for my project, the one person I knew would appreciate its depth, if only he knew who was truly responsible for it. What is the secret plan that could change everything? The week before the presentation was a blur of controlled panic. Jessica's polish involved putting her name on the title slide and changing the color scheme to her personal preference. The core of the project, the data, the strategy, the very soul of Nightingale remained mine. The new conflict was my own internal battle. Every instinct screamed that I was being set up, that my career-making project was about to be stolen in the most public way possible. Liam saw the stress on my face. "She's locking you out, isn't she?" he asked as I stared blankly at my screen. I just nodded. "Called it," he said, shaking his head. "Happened to a kid in product development last year. Kid had a brilliant idea. Jessica mentored him, she presented it, got a huge bonus, and the kid got transferred to the regional office in Omaha 3 months later." His story was a bucket of ice water. This wasn't just about losing credit, it was about being erased. Jessica wouldn't just take my success, she would likely find a way to get rid of me afterward to eliminate the evidence. The obstacle was no longer just my boss, it was the entire corporate structure that enabled people like her. I was a junior employee against a powerful department head. A formal complaint to HR would be my word against hers, and she was a master at manipulating the narrative. I felt utterly trapped. I had one night before my project, my work, was presented to the CEO. I had to do something. I couldn't let her win. Will a secret from the past turn the tables? The pressure was amplified by a ticking clock. Our biggest competitor was launching a new product in 2 months, and Project Nightingale was designed as a direct counteroffensive. Its success wasn't just a career move, it was critical to the company's market share for the next fiscal year. The stakes were incredibly high. That night, I sat in my small apartment, staring at the final version of the presentation on my laptop. It felt like looking at a picture of a child who was about to be kidnapped. Liam's warning echoed in my ears. I couldn't go through HR. I couldn't confront Jessica directly. I had to go over her head, but in a way that wasn't a direct challenge. It had to be subtle. It had to be smart. My heart pounded as the audacious, terrifying idea formed in my mind. I opened my email. I attached the final presentation file. I pulled up the company directory and found the email address for Marcus Harrison, CEO. This was the point of no return. My hands trembled as I typed. I couldn't sound like I was tattling. I had to frame it perfectly. "Dear Mr. Harrison," I wrote. "I know you have a packed schedule, but I wanted to send this over to you in advance of tomorrow's meeting. I am the junior strategist on Jessica Vance's team who has been developing Project Nightingale for the past year. I am so incredibly proud of the work we have done, and I couldn't be more excited for Jessica to present it to you. Her mentorship has been invaluable. I just wanted to give you a chance to see the final deck. All the best, Maya." I read it over a dozen times. It was perfect. It was humble, it praised my boss, but it did one crucial thing. It put my name, the project's name, and the final document in the CEO's hands, directly from me, 24 hours before the presentation. It was a digital timestamp on my intellectual property. I took a deep, shaky breath and hit send. I felt sick to my stomach for the entire presentation. I sat in the back of the boardroom, a silent observer at my own coronation-turned-funeral. Jessica was flawless. She moved through my slides with an easy grace, explaining my data, my conclusions, my strategic recommendations as if she had conceived them herself. She didn't mention my name once. It wasn't our work. It was my new strategy. The executives were captivated. They nodded, they took notes. She was winning. My heart sank with every word. My gamble had failed. The CEO had probably deleted my email without reading it. I was going to be the kid in Omaha. Jessica finished with a confident flourish. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions. The room was filled with a buzz of excitement. The vice president of sales was the first to speak. Jessica, this is groundbreaking. Truly fantastic work. Others chimed in with praise. Jessica soaked it all in, a radiant smile on her face. Then, a quiet voice cut through the noise. It was Mr. Harrison. He hadn't spoken the entire time. All heads turned to him. He had a small, thoughtful smile on his face as he looked at Jessica. Excellent work, Jessica, he said, his voice calm and even. I saw it last week. The air in the room changed. It was a single, simple sentence, but it was loaded with a meaning that only 3 people in the room could possibly understand. I saw a flicker of confusion in Jessica's eyes. Thank you, sir, she said, her smile becoming slightly strained. I'm glad you liked the preliminary drafts. No, Mr. Harrison said, his gaze unwavering. Not a draft. I saw this exact presentation. From the young woman who actually created it. Maya, isn't it? He turned his head and looked directly at me, in the back of the room. You sent it to me Wednesday night. The turning point was not a whisper. It was a public detonation. Every eye in the boardroom swiveled from Jessica to me. Jessica's face went from pale to chalk white. The blood drained from her face as she realized her lie had been exposed, in the most public and humiliating way possible, by the one man she couldn't manipulate. The game was over. How will this shocking secret change their lives forever? This incredible twist has you hooked? Subscribe now for more stories of delicious karma. The rest of the meeting was a blur of excruciating awkwardness. The executives, sensing the seismic shift in power, mumbled a few non-committal remarks and quickly found reasons to leave. Jessica stood frozen at the podium, her confident posture crumbling. When the room was finally empty, save for the 3 of us, she turned to me, her eyes blazing with a cold, venomous fury. The charming mentor was gone, replaced by a cornered snake. What did you do? She hissed, her voice low and trembling with rage. You went behind my back? You tried to sabotage me. Before I could answer, Mr. Harrison spoke. She did what any intelligent, proud employee would do when they feared their work was about to be stolen, Jessica. She created a paper trail. A very smart one. He then turned and left the room, leaving me alone with my now dethroned boss. The immediate consequence for Jessica was a public humiliation from which her career at Innovatech would never recover. The reaction from me was a mixture of terror and exhilarating relief. I had won, but I had also just made a very powerful enemy. The next few days were a masterclass in corporate passive aggression. Jessica didn't speak to me, but she tried to bury me. I was left off important email chains. I was uninvited from meetings. She assigned me a mountain of tedious, mind-numbing administrative work, trying to sideline me from any real strategic involvement. It was a classic freeze-out. The old me would have panicked, maybe even quit. But the woman who had emailed the CEO was not the same person. The challenge was to endure, to prove that my value was not dependent on my boss's approval. My growth came from a quiet, determined refusal to be broken. I did the grunt work she assigned me, and I did it perfectly. But in my own time, I continued to refine the Nightingale implementation plan. I knew my moment would come. It arrived a week later, in the form of an email from Mr. Harrison's assistant. Mr. Harrison would like to meet with you regarding Project Nightingale. Please come to his office at 3 p.m. I walked into the top-floor office with my heart in my throat. Mr. Harrison was not what I expected. He was kind, with intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through me. He didn't mention Jessica. He simply said, "Walk me through it. From the beginning. Not the slides. You're thinking." For the next hour, I did. I explained my data, my insights, my passion. He listened, asking sharp, insightful questions. It was the most exhilarating conversation of my life. My transformation was complete. I was no longer a junior employee hiding in the shadows. I was a strategist defending my work to the CEO, and he was seeing me for exactly who I was. The final confrontation was not a dramatic showdown, but a quiet, strategic move by Mr. Harrison. He announced a new, fast-track initiative to accelerate the launch of Project Nightingale. To lead it, he created a new, temporary role, project lead. The position would report directly to him. He then sent an email to Jessica and me, informing us that we would both be interviewed for the position. It was a test, a final, public judgment. Jessica, desperate to save face, went into overdrive. She prepared a massive presentation, full of buzzwords and management theories, trying to prove she was the only one with the leadership skills to execute the project. My preparation was different. I didn't prepare a presentation. I prepared a plan. A detailed 100-day implementation strategy, complete with budgets, timelines, and personnel assignments. I wasn't going to talk about how I would lead. I was going to show it. The tension was thick. The entire department was watching. This interview would be the final word on who truly owned Project Nightingale. The final confrontation will reveal everything, won't it? The meeting was in Mr. Harrison's personal conference room. It was just the three of us. Jessica went first. She delivered a slick, confident pitch about her management philosophy and her vision for synergizing the team. It was all style, a performance designed to charm. When it was my turn, I didn't stand. I simply placed my detailed, 50-page implementation plan on the table in front of Mr. Harrison. "Sir," I said, "I believe the vision for Project Nightingale is already clear. This is the plan for how we make it a reality, starting tomorrow." Mr. Harrison picked up the binder. He didn't open it right away. He looked at Jessica, then at me. "Jessica," he said, his voice quiet, "I have one question for you. On page 47 of the original presentation, there's a data point about consumer behavior in the Pacific Northwest. Can you explain the methodology you used to arrive at that specific projection?" It was a surgical strike. A question so specific, so deep in the weeds of the data, that only the person who had spent weeks analyzing it could possibly answer. Jessica froze. I saw the panic in her eyes. "Well," she stammered, "that was a complex analysis done by my team. It's a standard metric." She couldn't answer. Mr. Harrison let the silence hang in the air for a moment, a quiet indictment. Then he turned to me. "Maya." I took a breath. "The projection is based on a regression analysis of 3 primary datasets," I began, and for the next 2 minutes, I explained the methodology in perfect, confident detail. The climax was not a shouting match. It was a quiet, undeniable demonstration of competence versus incompetence. When I was finished, Mr. Harrison closed my binder. He looked at Jessica. "Thank you for your time, Jessica. That will be all." It was a dismissal. Not just from the meeting, but from the project. From the company. My vengeance was complete. I had not defeated her with politics or tricks. I had defeated her with the one thing she could never steal, my own brilliance. Jessica was not fired that day. Mr. Harrison was more subtle than that. She was simply made irrelevant. I was officially promoted to project lead for Nightingale and given my own team, including Liam, whom I immediately made my second in command. Jessica remained a department head with no department to head, a queen with no subjects. She resigned 2 months later, citing a desire to pursue new opportunities. Project Nightingale launched on an accelerated timeline and was a spectacular success. It exceeded all projections and became the new industry standard. My career took off like a rocket. The long-term consequence of my stand was not just personal success, but a cultural shift in my corner of the company. Mr. Harrison used the situation to send a clear message. At Innovatech, the work matters more than the presentation. The emotional resolution came when Mr. Harrison officially promoted me to head of strategy, the position Jessica had vacated. In our meeting, he told me, "That email you sent me, Maya, it was the smartest, bravest move I've seen in 30 years in this business." I had earned my place, not by playing the game, but by changing its rules. A year later, I was sitting in a big presentation, watching a nervous, brilliant young strategist from my new team present her first major project. When she finished, a senior VP started to direct his questions to me. I held up a hand. "She's the expert," I said, smiling at my young protégé. "Ask her." I saw the gratitude and confidence in her eyes, and I knew I had not just built a new career, I had built a better kind of leadership. Having your ideas stolen by a boss or colleague is a painful and all too common experience in the workplace. This story is a testament to the power of courage, strategy, and believing in the value of your own work. It's a reminder that true talent can't be plagiarized. Have you ever had to fight for credit you deserved? What's your advice for someone in Maya's position? Share your experiences and thoughts in the comments below. If this story of corporate karma resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more.